Private school is fine, but boarding schools, I'm dead set against them. Dead set against them. A child belongs at home. So, I mean, I had to get over that hurdle before I could get to, now, why Wayland rather than another boarding school? My biggest problem was, why any boarding school?
So I think really a parent needs to decide very carefully why they want to send their child to a boarding school. What are the kinds of needs and opportunities that they're trying to build on? And what are the results that they hope for? We really ought to ask the difficult questions about what happens to your students while they're here. What good happens, what bad happens. What happens to your students after they leave, when they graduate? How successful are they in college?
Orientation is incredible. I think that was probably the quickest that I've ever met so many people in my life.
I thought it was really neat because they had all these activities planned out for us the first couple of days when we were here, and everybody was just getting to know each other.
This kind of involvement and this kind of an activity helps these kids to grow right from day one. They're challenged in the orientation program. They're pushed to certain kinds of limits. And when they're all done, there's an interaction.
Dorm life. Dorm life is like a public gathering in your room. I mean, you have no privacy for one. You gotta be able to live with that. You get really used to it though. When you go home, you call up your friends and they come over and you make plans to see them. Here, they just walk into your room anytime, you know, toothpaste. I went home this weekend and I got a thing of toothpaste. My mom's just like, you got one a week ago. You know, what happened to it? Like, I don't know what happened to it. You know, I share between 20 people in the dorm. You know, what can I say? It's all right, though, because they're all your friends. I mean, you know every single person in the dorm.
No more change will occur in a child or in a human being in their lifetime than between the ages of 13 and 18. These are difficult years in some cases. In some cases, they're just crazy years. The body's growing, the mind isn't. The mind is growing and the body isn't. All of a sudden, there's girls, there's boys. There's all the temptations of society that perhaps society could do without, but in reality, schools must deal with. Parents must deal with these things. So we like to give our students as much responsibility for their own well-being, for their own development, and for their own growth as we as professional educators feel they can handle. The reason we do this is we think there are some students who are either born leaders, or there are some students who, given the opportunity to lead, will become leaders.
The mentor plays an important part in that transition and in that maturity and growth that takes place within each youngster, because the mentor actually is the parent in residence. A mentor or an adult sets a certain kind of a tone and is there to help a young person make that transition. Because young people very often would like to spend most of their time talking to students, but if they talk to the mentor or to another teacher, someone that they can trust, they get a different perspective on the same kinds of problems.
I talked to him a lot. Like when I broke my arm, I couldn't go to practice anymore. I broke my arm during soccer. And so I'd talk to him almost every day because I'm very athletic, and that really bothered me that I couldn't be in sports. So he helped me get through it.
There are ways that you can teach without ever being in that structured classroom. And that's basically what a boarding school is about. It's not just giving an academic education. It's an education on all levels for life.
I feel like something's wrong if I haven't gotten the kind of rapport where I can just turn and ask a student for a reply. And that ought to happen 4 or 5 times a day. And I think with 12 to 15 students in a class, I can identify the student who is maybe falling out of the discussion pretty quickly. I can usually talk to that student and say, you know, what's happening here? What's the problem? To be really honest about it, I can't imagine doing what I am doing with twice the number of students.
Here, you gotta study. You know, I want to go out and play, and I want to go out and be with my friends, but I know when I have to study. And one thing about here is that you really get a lot out of studying. I mean, I've never gained so much out of reading a book, because my teachers make such a big deal about really understanding it, and they try to help you. They're there to help you, and so I haven't found it's difficult, but it's fun, and sometimes a pain.
I can't say enough about the teachers here that, you know, that they love to see people do really well and to learn, and I think that's one of the finer things about the school.
I guess I feel like ultimately, if a student leaves here desiring to educate himself some more and has a number of activities, learned a number of things that interest him, even if the student's training eventually for his work, his career, doesn't correspond with those interests perfectly, he's going to be an interesting person, he's going to be a contributor, he or she's going to be active.
I like to think that in Linfield Hall they challenge the kids' mental self, and it's up to us to challenge their physical selves. And there's been enough research to show that a healthy balance between a person's mental and physical concepts of or self-concept is really a healthy balance to work for.
I applaud a number of public schools who have a variety of tasks, who have to work in vocational education, who work in home ec, who work in business ed, who have to work with socially, economically, or emotionally disadvantaged students, and who also try to prepare students for college. While we are a school of 275, we are focused on one educational objective. We're in the business of preparing young people to be successful at what they choose to do. And the first thing that 100% of our students choose to do is to go on to four-year colleges.
The entire emphasis at Wayland supports the kind of college prep program that our students come to expect and feel has prepared them very, very well for their college experience. In recent years, our college admission record has been outstanding. We are known and respected by colleges from the most competitive to the competitive range right throughout the country.
It's a very capable, dedicated faculty. You know, the amount of time that goes into a quality education, it never seems to end here at Wayland. You know, it's a commitment. I like teaching at Wayland Academy. I like my work. I look at something that I enjoy doing. You know, I come to school at 8 in the morning and I bounce around campus. And this is 25 years into teaching. And I don't see that changing. I really don't.
When I first came to Wisconsin a number of years ago, I was surprised to learn of the number of people who perhaps send their youngsters out of the Midwest to have a boarding school experience.
I think it's a very Midwestern school, and I like it for that. What they are interested in is performance and striving for excellence and an opportunity to grow.
And what we found was that Wayland was not in the middle of a cornfield, that it was not on a flat prairie, that it was really in a very nice town of 15,000. It was within less than an hour of two very exciting cities. It was about 2.5 hours from Chicago. But perhaps more than that, it had an outstanding faculty, a very interesting and capable student body, and a physical facility that was probably equal to any school its size in the world. You would have to look very hard and long to find a better independent school.
I think it's a terrific experience. I mean, just the fact being away and dealing with the situations that, you know, we have to deal with.
It's made me prepared to make the commitment that I'm gonna make, you know, in order to have a successful life. I guess it's just got me, like, you know, motivated, ready to do what needs to be done.
A boarding school cannot take the place of a parent. A boarding school does not intend to take the place of a parent. What it does intend to do is to allow children to mature, to learn, and to develop to the very best of their ability.
I should say that in the 3 years she's been here, I have gained a great deal of weight from all the crow I had to eat, because this has been a fantastic opportunity and experience for her, and has certainly changed my mind about boarding schools.
Nancy and I have spent our adult lives as professional educators. And while education is very important to us professionally, it is even more important to us personally. As parents, we were excited when our eldest son graduated from one of the nation's oldest boarding schools in New England. We were equally excited and proud when our youngest son, Brad, graduated from Wayland Academy. Both of our sons received superior educations, and for Brad, we could not have picked a finer institution than Wayland Academy.